Are you looking for the latest in-demand healthcare jobs in Canada or in the United States? Or perhaps are you searching for the best job board to post your healthcare jobs? Awesome! You've come to the right place. Our Facebook and YouTube channel offers tips and advice on who's hiring now, what to do to get noticed when to apply for a job online, and what are the top 3 skills employers hiring now are looking for. We also interview in-demand healthcare professionals to learn what inspired them to pursue their careers in healthcare. Thank you for joining me. I'm Prasanthi Naidoo, founder of Healthjobhub.com. On today's show, we are going to be sharing with you tips and advice on how to land your dream job as a physiotherapist in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our special guest, Blair Schachterle, to our show this morning. Good morning, Blair.
Morning.
How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Happy Sunday morning.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you. Where are you joining us from?
I'm just down in Travers Reservoir, about 90 minutes southeast of Calgary. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm sure it's so beautiful out there.
Yeah. We had lots of fun yesterday. The weather was nice, so we like to take advantage of that in the summer if we can. And as physios, we only get sort of paid while we're working, so we love our weekends. We live life to the fullest on the weekend, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I want you to enjoy your time out there and have lots of fun in the sun. Thank you for joining me. I'm Prasanthi Naidoo, founder of Healthjobhub.com. On today's show, we are going to be sharing with you tips and advice on how to land your dream job in healthcare as a physiotherapist in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So Blair, in season 1 of Pulse, I read out a brief introduction for each special guest. And at the start of the show, we normally would talk about their background. But in season 2, we're going to be doing this a little differently. Please, can you share with us a little bit more about yourself? The floor is all yours, Blair.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your program today. For my history, basically, I've been a physiotherapist for about 28 years now. I've ran Nose Creek Sport Physiotherapy in Calgary for about 19 years. The slogan of our company is to get you moving faster and feeling better. And really my passion, and I think my company's passion, is to help people stay active and really age gracefully if they can, and maintain a high quality of life, and just really live life to the fullest and get rid of anything that's slowing them down that might create more obstacles to their health. So that's kind of my passion. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And the number one question a lot of people nowadays want to know is, who is currently hiring? So being an owner, a physiotherapist yourself, are you currently hiring? And if so, what roles are you hiring for?
Well, one thing I've learned over the years is great businesses are always looking for, great talent and people that can really join their team. So I'm always kind of looking for people. And right now we've got physiotherapists, massage therapists. We're looking for an osteopath, a nutritionist as well to join our team. And we really sort of are developing almost more of a wellness model. People come into our clinic for acute care for maybe 6 to 8 weeks and go through a plan of care. And then after that, we usually encourage them to follow up if they need little tune-ups. Just to maintain that high quality life that we worked really hard to get them to. So it does take a team approach to have the best outcome. And we're not afraid to refer out of our clinic as well for other areas that people might be inquiring about that we don't cover. But we definitely cover the MSK side of things, so the muscle, joint, and nerve sort of pains and injuries. Yeah.
Very, very cool. And how can people apply to your jobs if they were interested?
Great question, actually. And so the first thing I'd say is, check out our job posting on your website, Health Jobs Hub, and you can go through the steps there, and you'll end up basically your resume will come to my personal inbox, and I'll have a look at it and certainly follow up with you. And we're, like I say, we're always looking to meet people, and sometimes we might not have a job available right now, but my job as the recruiter for our company is I have to keep in touch with people, and and when things do come available, then I can make sure people that are on our short list are given the opportunity to come in and do an interview and maybe have a look at the facility and basically see if we're a good fit for them as well, because I really want to make sure people are kind of getting into the type of work that they want to get into. As you know, physiotherapy has a wide sort of range of different areas, and sometimes new grads might not know what area they want to specialize in. So, I really educate them on what we do, so they can really kind of zoom in on that and really increase their depth of knowledge in that particular area. Yeah.
And are there any licensing requirements that people need to know about before they apply to any of your jobs?
Great question. Well, first of all, for me to hire you in Alberta, you have to have a college license. So that's through the Alberta Physiotherapy Association and College.
Right.
To get that license, if you are an international sort of physiotherapist, you'll have to go through the National Canadian Physiotherapy Alliance exam process. So Canada has quite a high standard, and so if you're coming to Canada, you have to apply for that and get through that process before you can get a college license. So there's a written component that you can do, and then there's also a practical component that you do. And then at that point, once you've got that done, then the Alliance sends all your credentials to whichever college you're applying to, and then that's one of the tick boxes kind of in the license application. And then once you got your license, then you're ready to start work. That's the process. And I don't know the exact details of that, but I know if you contact them, they're really good in following up and explaining that process to you.
Right. And tell me, like, how is it for people from the US and trained in the US to come and work in Canada? Do you have any info on that?
Yeah, we've got actually one of our staff members was trained down in Washington, and her husband moved up to BC, and so she went into the province of BC, and now her husband has changed careers. He was a biologist, and now he's moved into nursing. So he's here in Calgary doing his nursing degree, and so she's joined our team as well. And she said there were some steps and there's a process there. They only do the written, I think, a couple times a year, as well as the practical, I believe, is only offered, I think, once or twice a year. So there is a bit of timing involved in that. And then, if you're challenged by the written, so you come from a country where maybe they have different philosophy or different content, there are other programs, what they call bridging programs as well, that you can take that will get you kind of up to speed in regards to how our Canadian system works and sort of what we look at for credentials.
Awesome. And Blair, I'm sure everybody wants to know as well, what are your top 3 tips for applicants to be successful when applying to any of your jobs?
Well, that's another great question, actually. So first thing I'd say is the first step is go through the thorough steps that you've set up on your website, because again, that would get me the contact directly into my inbox. The other thing is make sure you have updated contact information on your resume and a full work history. We like to look at that. And then if we do inquire, just prompt replies back helps us as well. And another one is I would, just go ahead and throw your references into the resume as well, because that just eliminates us from contacting you, asking to forward your resume or your references. So I enjoy applicants that already have all that attached to the resume, and that just makes it easy for us to, if we're interested, we'll do an interview, and then we can do some reference checks right away, and just kind of speeds up the process, I find. But those would be my tips.
Typically, how long does it take for your recruitment process? Like, if you had received a successful candidate who ticked all your boxes, gave you the references and everything, how soon can they expect a job offer, perhaps?
Again, that's the timing part, and that's why I like to keep in touch with people, because it's never perfect. It's very rare that somebody leaves our company, and the most common thing is a lot of females will follow their husband's career, and some of the most successful physios I've had have moved to different locations like Edmonton and things like that, because they're following their husband's career. And so then we're always looking, as soon as we get noticed, and we start to put up an ad. And so, depending on when that ad comes in, and we'll be talking to people on our short list, it can be anywhere from like 2 to 8 weeks would be kind of the 2 extremes. But we can usually move it along quickly, especially if we're short staffed and we're looking for help. We're going to try and expedite as quickly as possible.
Brilliant. And tell me, what are the top 3 skills you are looking for in your applicants?
Another great question. So first of all, great soft skills is really important. Being
Mhm.
very sociable, someone who's easy to talk to, someone who becomes that is a real good active listener, has
Mhm.
a positive attitude, and has some resilience as well, and maybe evidence of that in their past. An amazing communicator is great because
Mhm.
90% of what we do is communicate, and 10% is really the hard skills, like any other profession.
Mhm.
So that's really important to develop those communication skills, both in person, face to face, as well as online, like we're doing today, because that's our new reality. Is we're doing
Mhm.
tele-rehab now, and so you have to really be an active listener and really be able to answer clients' questions thoroughly,
Yeah.
and show some empathy and caring in that process.
Yeah.
And then sort of being humble as well, I think, would be another one.
Yeah.
Wanting to learn and grow, and
Mhm.
also presenting yourself confidently. That's really important as well. And then, some computer skills or some familiarity with computers as well would be very important, because again,
Yeah.
that's a big part of what we do. And it was interesting in our transition to tele-rehab. I never thought I would digitally chart my career, and so we were forced to do that because we had to work remotely. And now we're doing tele-rehab with patients my age and older. Like, I get on the tele-rehab portal twice a week
Oh,
with
wow.
my schedule, and I'm dealing with people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and some even in their 80s,
Yeah.
who understand the technology, and the technology is really easy. So it's
Mhm.
not that hard, and once people experience it once, they love it, because the convenience of doing sort of consultation, exercise prescription, and really pain management strategies, within the comfort of their own home. So that's been
Yeah.
kind of a really kind of exciting new development for us.
That is absolutely wonderful. And I was going to ask this question later on the show, but seeing that you've just touched on it now, do you think virtual healthcare in physiotherapy is possible? Like, when you told me about that when we first talked, I was like, wow, you can actually do virtual physiotherapy?
Yes, so great question. When I first was introduced to this, I went and I did some research, and there's a group down in Australia that have actually proven that there's some patients that do better online than they do in the
Wow.
clinic, and
Mhm.
so and these guys have been doing this for 10 years. So tele-rehab really isn't new. I think it's new to
Mhm.
Canada, and there have been some colleagues in Canada that have been doing it as well, in
Mhm.
different sort of aspects of physiotherapy. And I even attended some courses and talked with people down in the States that have been doing it for about 5 years.
Yes.
And yeah, so for number one, for the people that are super busy, like managers or small business owners, they love the fact that they can jump on the computer like we are right now, and we
Yes.
can spend 30 minutes together, somewhere in their daily, Google Calendar, where they're fully booked out for 12 hours a day.
Yes.
Whereas the old school would have been they'd have to take off, probably 2 hours out of their day, 20 minutes, half an hour drive down to us. They're in the office for about an hour, and then another 20 or half an hour sort of back to their office. So they've lost 2 hours in their production in their day, whereas at 30 minutes, they just love that. And in fact, I had a gal the other day saying, she's a busy university administrator, saying, I love, Blair, that I could just jump on the line with you for half an hour. And I really want to thank you for all the great tips you've given me. A lot of clients right now, because we're doing Zoom meetings, are having a lot of pain in their hips and low back, necks and shoulders and wrists, if they don't have proper ergonomics. So a lot of
Mhm.
that is just teaching people, that they got to get out of their chair. They got to be walking, twice a day. They should be looking at investing in a sit-stand desk. My
Mhm.
last weekly value-added email talked about that, actually. And when we'd done some work with two providers in May, one was John from the running room, and he talked about interval walking and how you can sort of get a lot of fitness out of interval walking. And then also another guy named Louis Stack, who's from Fitter First, and he's the one who presented sort of active sitting as well as sit-stand desks. And so I think those are two things in our life now. This is our new reality that we have to all do to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And the other one was the technology objections sometimes people have with tele-rehab, and usually comes from more of our senior clients. And
Mhm.
again, once they've experienced it once, they realize that you receive a link into your cell phone or your laptop, and all you do is you click on the link. There's one form we fill out called a medical form, and then there's a consent form, and then the second link is basically your access into the portal. So it's not that hard. The first visit, we try to sort of make sure they understand the troubleshooting aspects of it, and quite commonly, if it's a middle-aged sort of client, they've got kids that are playing on the internet, well, that'll reduce your bandwidth. And so we tell them for that half an hour, you got to turn off the, Netflix,
Yes.
Fortnite, and all these other internet games, and just
Yes.
to increase the quality of our connection, and
Yes.
just turning off other devices in the background. So just simple things like that. So we have a checklist now that we've developed. So it's about 16 points long, actually. When I first started, it was about 5 or 6. And then as things kept happening, we just
Wow.
kept adding
And
that
do
to our
you have
list
that
as
on
we
your
developed it.
website? Can
Pardon me?
people find that on your website for you if they were interested in finding your checklist? How can they get that?
Yeah, so we posted it on our website. In fact, we had a video that we made as well that sort of goes through that. So, when people come on to our telerehab program, we usually encourage them to try and watch the video.
Yes.
And we do have that list that we can send to them, as well as we usually kind of review it with them.
Yes.
For people that are working on the internet like yourself, it would only be like probably 3 to 5 minutes to kind of go through that checklist. For people that have never done it before, we take a little bit more time.
Yes.
And make sure they understand it, because it just reduces the sort of the interruptions, and it sets us up for success in follow-up visits. And so we have a portal that they can get into, and we encourage them to sort of get in 5 minutes early if they can, so that we're good to go. Because when we're doing telerehab, we're usually doing appointments kind of back to back, so we're just finishing one person, making some quick notes, and then we move on to our next client. We usually do our digital charting sort of at the end of the day when our hands are free, and then we're also following up with emails that have exercise sheets and exercise videos that help consolidate what we talked about, what we presented. And patients love that, because they, the next day they might go do a stretch and they can't remember how to do it, so they can flip back to that as a resource. So I think a lot of us actually are finding now that we can do better exercise prescription online than we do in the clinic, because in the clinic you're going to sometimes have patients that are showing up early, sometimes late. For me, I've got an office manager that's asking me questions about every 20 minutes about something going on in the office. So that's why I actually prefer that. And I tell patients that, like, when they first come in or private patients, and even some MVA patients, will do like one telehealth visit to do exercise prescription, then one sort of visit in the office. And that's what we call kind of our hybrid sort of model of care. And that seems to be working really well. And then once they've got their full exercise prescription, then we might follow up with them in the clinic. But as people are getting better, what our job is to slowly wean down the frequency of visits and slowly build that independence with them. And just they come in and we progress their program and really get them to their goal of what they want to do. So that's kind of what's been happening. And the other thing is, like, post-operative care, like total hips, total knees. The surgeons don't want us to even touch the patient. The surgeons really just want us to get them strong, get them flexible, get their function back, get their endurance back, get their balance up, and that's all exercise prescription. So those are the ideal clients to really do telerehab with. So any client where there's a lot of exercise prescription and goal is really to get back to function, then that really fits well with our sort of presentation of how we sort of present that, I guess. Yeah.
Brilliant. What great information. So I take it coronavirus, COVID-19 has impacted your clinic in a positive way, because like all this great information has emerged through the pandemic. So what are your thoughts? How has coronavirus and COVID-19 impacted the way you now do business?
Well, essentially it's changed our model. So if you look at kind of 3 circles, one circle is going to be in-house treatment. The next one is going to be like all telerehab. And then the third one is what I call our hybrid. And that's where we're doing a combination of both telerehab and in-house treatments. And so, I jokingly said the other day, it's like post-traumatic growth that we've sort of gone through, because we were sort of forced into this situation. But what's happened is the side effect of this situation has actually grown our practice. And we're now delivering another service in our practice that patients, once they experience it, usually enjoy it and want more of it, just because the convenience for them. So that's really what we're doing now, I think is, and I'm really excited to continue to sort of grow that model as we move along as well. And the other thing is, like I said to my wife the other day, one of my favorite telerehab days was, I think I had 12 people. We usually do like 6 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon type thing. We put a lunch break in the middle, and so I had a guy that was originally from Edmonton that resides in Edmonton, has another place in Cochrane, and so I was working with him up in Edmonton. I had another contractor that was a warm referral from a lady that I've treated. It was her son-in-law who lives like an hour south of Strathmore, so he's out of town as well. So the first 3 sessions we did digitally, because he's busy, building houses, and I just wanted to know, like, what can I do, Blair, on my own to start to change my heel pain. He had really raging plantar fasciitis, and so we did some sessions together. And then he does need to come into Calgary to get supplies on a weekly basis anyway. So I said at that point, okay, now that you've kind of got your home exercise program set up, let's get you in, and we're going to hit you with Shockwave, which is probably one of the most effective tools for plantar fasciitis that we can offer him. And so he was coming in once a week for that, and mobilizing his ankle. He had kind of a stiff ankle, and so it was interesting, and I think he's enjoyed it as well.
Amazing. I just loved hearing all this positive news coming out of this post-pandemic stress that we've all been put into. So we don't hear too much of that. So thank you so much for sharing. What are your thoughts now on the future of work, especially for physiotherapists post-COVID?
Well, I guess I'm optimistic. I think that the province of Alberta is going to continue to take COVID-19 very seriously,
Yeah.
and we shouldn't hopefully see a huge second wave like I think they are experiencing down in the U.S. right now.
Yeah.
And I think all the clinics are going to continue to slowly grow. We're not at the pre-COVID levels we were before, but we're slowly getting there, and I think we'll probably get there as we get closer into phase 3 of the sort of rollout or the relaunch within Alberta.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be wearing masks for quite some time because, if you look logistically at what's happening, is they're talking about possibly having a vaccination in, December or January. That's if all the ducks line up and, if all the research works out. But then you have to manufacture that, that vaccination. That's going to take a while, especially when you're talking about vaccinating the whole world. And then the third thing is you have to logistically distribute that vaccination. So, I think we're in this sort of probably for another 12 to 18 months. 12 would be super optimistic. I talked to a medical person yesterday, and she's saying maybe 18 to 24 months, before things really kind of calm down and stabilize again.
Yeah.
But I think we've learned a life lesson too about, how we have to be more aware and how we do have to sanitize different steps in our lives and take responsibility for ourselves and our family members and your team members you work with as well. And interestingly enough, occupational health and safety actually walked through our clinic on Wednesday. And I was actually excited. Unfortunately, it was one of my management days, so I was out doing meetings, but I said to my operations manager, I said, this is great. Like, let them hit us with both barrels. And if there's anything we're not doing that we need to be doing, ask him for advice. And I'm really glad that they're doing that, because I know there's going to be some businesses that maybe aren't operating as good as they could from a prevention point of view.
Yes.
So that was exciting, and they even gave us a couple handouts that helped us sort of manage our team as we move forward. And they interviewed a couple of our team members, support staff and things like that. And so I think that's important, and that to me tells me that the province of Alberta is working hard to reduce the spread if they can and really contain this virus.
So good to know. I'm so glad to hear that, because that's exactly what we need from our, government officials to come in and help businesses relaunch, reopen, and do it safely. So I'm so sure to know the story that they have come and inspected your clinic, and it's safe. You're putting in all the measures and protocols that needs to be done for patients to come back and feel safe in your environment. So fair play to you.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
That was one of my first questions, but we, delved into the details of COVID and about the job opportunities. But really, I would also love to know, please share with us what inspired you to pursue your career as a physiotherapist, and will you recommend physiotherapy as a profession?
Well, that's easy for me. My first love was anatomy. So as I was going through college, I loved my anatomy classes, and I loved helping people. And I knew at some point I'd get into something like that involved those two aspects. And so I basically realized that that's physiotherapy. So what I do as a clinician when I'm working in the clinic is applied anatomy. So I get to put my Sherlock Holmes hat on and put the pieces of the puzzle together that basically shows us why the person's pain that they've got hasn't gone away. And so our sort of approach that I've developed over the years is we just look at a list of modifiable risk factors within each condition or body part, and we just slowly tick those off as we're doing work with the patient. For example, it could be a mechanical limitation in their spinal movement or their shoulder movement. It could be a muscle imbalance that's occurring. It could be a nerve mobility issue. So we sort of get into those technical things, and so physios are very passionate about that. And so when I consult with other physios on our team that we're looking at a patient, I'm just going through that checklist saying, have you done this and this? And if they haven't, I say, well, maybe work on those two modified risk factors, and then let's see how he responds to that or she responds to that. And so that's kind of fun. And really the bottom line is getting down to what the client's why is. So we often ask them, when we're building a plan of care, it's like, why do you need us to help you, get back to whatever it is? And we usually ask them, what are the top 3 things you want to get back to functionally? And then we can really sort of dive into their why. And if you dive into their why and find out what they're really passionate about, then you're going to succeed with that patient. And some of our older clients, it might be that I want to be able to play with my grandchildren and run around in the backyard without having knee pain, or be able to sit or bend over without having any back pain. Simple things like that. But it takes a while to get that function back sometimes, and get people back to what they want to be doing. From a management point of view, like I'm doing the same thing. I'm just trying to set up my team members for success. Whether it's clinically looking at sort of some of the hard skills we need to help them with, or logistically within our clinic. And we've got an amazing support staff team that we've really worked hard on building over the last 19 years. And so I say to them, the analogy I like to make is like when you go to a restaurant and you have a great experience and you're at a restaurant, that didn't just happen. That was planned. So we look at the patient experience from when the door opens to when the door closes and they leave. And so we kind of have a list of things we want to make sure we accomplish while the patient's there, and make it as seamless as possible for them, because they're busy. They want their appointment on time. They want the clinic to present as being clean, and they want to be felt that they've been cared for and listened to. And so we really work hard on that sort of experience model within our doors. And do I recommend physiotherapist as a profession? Well, if you enjoy helping people physically, then I think it's a great profession for you. When I was trying to figure this out myself, I remember going to my family doctor, and he would just say, "What do you?" He'd just listen to you actively, and then he'd sort of diagnose you, just by listening to you. Might touch you, sometimes they don't even touch you, and they give you a script, and then away you go, try this medicine, because they're treating you chemically, and they say, try that for 2 weeks, come back if it's not better. And I kind of thought that's not the model of care I like, because my dad was a real hands-on kind of practical guy, and I think that's part of my genetics too. Like I wanted to actually touch people and mechanically work with them and interact with them and try to help them in a little bit more hands-on sort of approach. And so that's why for me physiotherapy was a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Wow. Your passion really comes through. The way you've taken your clinic to a new level, and the fact that you care so much about the patient and creating that experience for them, that is absolutely amazing. I actually want to come and visit your clinic now. And thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with today?
I think if you're looking for a job, again, this is a great website. That's why we've joined up with you, Prasanthi, and I want to say thank you for reaching out to me. I know you referred to me by one of my friends and colleagues, and it's been a great experience. So we've got some great candidates that have come off your website, and I think COVID will change a lot of industries, and I'd like to think that we're going to come out of this on the other side with a lot more efficiencies within our businesses that are going to create a lot more safety for all businesses and better sort of health sort of attitudes in everybody. So I'm optimistic that in the end, I think that the technology is going to start to really help companies. I think some of the landlords might be kind of scared because some people are taking their business online, and so there could be a lot of lease space open in the next few years. So there might be some opportunities for leasing. Those of you looking to expand your businesses.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much, Blair, for being a special guest on our show today and giving our viewers some awesome tips and advice on how to land their dream jobs as a physiotherapist at your clinic, Nose Creek Physiotherapy in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Special thanks to all our amazing viewers. Thank you for tuning in live, and thank you for watching this video. Don't forget, if you enjoyed our show, please smash the like button, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please share with your network. Thank you, stay safe, and God bless.
Bye-bye.